Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today, I just want to debunk a few myths concerning VAT. Now, I get a lot of requests from clients who, number one, want to register for VAT straight after they've registered their companies. Some of them want to register for VAT, or maybe they've been trading for a couple of years, but they want to register for VAT for the wrong reasons. My name is Carol, and please like our broadcast, please subscribe to our channel, please share the video, and I'm talking to you concerning SARS, tax matters, and accounting matters. So, why should somebody register for VAT, or to use the correct terminology, why should they be a VAT vendor? Well, in the past, there was what you call voluntary registration and compulsory registration, and I've discussed a little bit of that in my earlier videos. Now, however, what is happening with SARS is that only if your turnover is at least R1,000,000 a year can you even consider VAT registration. And of course, for those who exceeded R1,000,000 a year already, you should already be VAT registered, because if you're not, it means you're in violation of the VAT Act. So the thinking or the rationale behind this is, if your turnover exceeds R1,000,000, we now see you as a thriving business, a business with ongoing clientele. You're not just one invoice, and then you're dead in the water kind of company. And the thing is, SARS is trying to eliminate some of those clients who are registering for VAT, and it's just a once-off transaction, or maybe they're doing it for the wrong reasons. I mentioned that already. Some of those wrong reasons and the misconceptions, myths that are spread are, number one, people think that they can get rebates or refunds out of SARS simply because they are VAT registered. Sometimes people actually say to me, when it's time I got something out of SARS, I need to register for VAT because I need to get some refunds. And of course, that's not the case. The only companies or individuals, mostly companies though, that can get refunds from SARS on their VAT numbers are entities that are mostly exporting. So of course, if you're exporting, let's say to the DRC, to Kenya, to Zambia, to Nigeria, to Zimbabwe, wherever you're exporting goods or services to, obviously your clients are not South African entities. Therefore, you cannot charge them VAT. So that is an exempt service or goods that you're supplying, you're exporting, and it can be proved that those goods left the country. So you would have your custom stamped documents, you would have your exporter code, you would have your clearing agent do all your paperwork showing that your goods actually left the country, and the stamps are there to prove. You can also then bring in your supplier invoices wherever you might have paid for goods or services in South Africa as a South African entity, and that VAT can then be applied for when you submit your VAT return and you're in a refundable position. You can now then apply for that VAT to be refunded. That is the most common way in which clients can get refunds out of SARS. Because you're an exporter, it means all your local VAT that you're paying in South Africa should then be refundable to you. However, it's not a given that you will be refunded. You need to go through rigorous tests, if I may call them that. SARS will need supporting documents. As I said, the proof of export, they'll need to see your customer invoice and know that your customers are actually based outside the country. They also need to see your supply invoices wherever you've bought goods and you've been charged VAT. And of course, all of these invoices must fit the criteria of a tax invoice in South Africa. And what is that? It must say tax invoice, it must have a sequential invoice number, must have a date, must have the name of the company that is invoicing and their address and VAT number, as well as yours, the receiving or the recipient. You must also have your details on there, your name, company name, rather your address, your VAT number, and so on. And of course, a description of the goods or services that have been offered. You can also claim VAT for services. For instance, you're paying telecom, you're paying insurance. Any other invoice that is in the name of the company can be used and you can claim. So, of course, when we do your VAT report, we can then see that you have paid out VAT to certain VAT vendors and suppliers, but you yourself, because you're exporting, you have not charged VAT. In other words, your export VAT is zero because you haven't charged, but you've paid input VAT, right? So in that case, you are liable for a refund. That is the most common case. In a few instances, maybe you might buy a lot of stock and therefore you haven't sold very much, and so you've paid a lot out to suppliers. I must tell you, if you're not exporting and it's just a matter of buying a lot of stock, not that easy for you to get your refund out of SARS. The same as people that are importing goods from outside the country. Remember, you're also paying VAT with your duty at the airport or at the border. It's not that easy to get your refund. Sometimes it's easier to just include that in your VAT calculation in order to reduce the VAT that you would pay to SARS. One other category of clients I need to mention, because there's more and more of these. If you're a transporter, for instance, you're a road haulier and you're taking goods to Botswana, to Zimbabwe, to Zambia, of course, your client may be in the other country, in Botswana, for instance, or in Swaziland. Therefore, you cannot charge them VAT. You also may be in the category where you can get refunds. You're not actually exporting the product, but you are the transporter. Therefore, you're not charging your client VAT, but you might have paid VAT on supplies in South Africa. So then you might get a refund. So those are the main categories of clients who gets refunds. So please do not allow people to fool you and tell you that, oh, register for VAT so that you can get a refund. Simply not true. Have a good day.